Good morning, all. On behalf of IoT Academy, we welcome you all for the second session of National Level Faculty Development Program on Research Article and Research Funding Proposal Writing. Let me introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Vasudha. She is currently working as an assistant professor, St. Anne's College for Women, Hyderabad, Telangana. Her qualifications include MCom, MBA in Marketing from Osmania University, and PhD in Commerce from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. She is having 12 years of experience in academic. Dr. Vasudha has contributed chapters in e-commerce on auditing books for Ambedkar Open University. She has to her credit 12 paper publications in UGC recognized journals at various national and international conferences. Dr. Vasudha has won Best Paper Award at a national seminar held at ICBM Hyderabad. She has organized and attended numerous activities, workshops, and seminars. She has also authored a book titled Online Shopping in India. We welcome you, ma'am, and with this, we hand over the session to Dr. Vasudha. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Jayalakshmi. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Thank you, Jayalakshmi. And before I start, I would apologize for yesterday's inconvenience caused for everyone across. I am extremely sorry for that. There was an emergency, so I had to go. Thank you so much for facilitating this, Jayalakshmi ma'am. And let's start the session now. The topic, yes. The topic for today is research funding proposal writing. Research funding and proposal writing. So moving ahead, moving on, let's begin with how do we write a research proposal when we are planning to propose it for when we have an objective of aiding certain grants across the institutes. How do we start? How do we go about it? And what are the do's and don'ts in making proposals? What are the significant challenges, significant places that you have to concentrate on as a researcher when you are making a proposal for applying for certain grants, whether government, non-government, or anyone, any institute you may apply as a researcher, but how and what are the various places where you have to concentrate on? Let us discuss that today. So yes, to start with, as a researcher, concentrate on answering these questions before you make a start. And those questions include: first one, will obtaining the grant aid your studies or career? The reason behind why you would like to get grants and for what purpose? That is the first question that a researcher has to have an answer. This will initiate a platform, a thinking process for you to start writing, your grant proposal. Next question: do you have time to allot to requirements? Yes, this is the question, which includes, yes, your own commitments, personal, professional, followed by the grants for which you are making a proposal. Institute from where you are seeking grants, they may have certain requirements. For example, they may ask you to come down for progress seminars. They may ask you interim reports at regular intervals. Since they are granting you, they have rights to call you for interim reports, progress reports, etc. So before you move on, your next question, you have to be very sure of whether you will be able to allot the time above all your personal commitments. You may be already working, you may be having a personal commitment. So above that, will you be able to again fulfill the requirements which are coming from the institute where you are seeking grants? That's the second question. Then, do you meet the criteria? Yes, every institute that a researcher must be seeking, you have to select out of so many. So each institute excuse me, each institute has their own way of assessing, evaluating, and reviewing. So all this process you need to be knowing beforehand, so that it will facilitate you the smooth flow without any obstacles and challenges in the later stages. Maybe if you start and then later you start facing challenges, that would be a very challenging and stressful as a researcher for you, because you're halfway done, you don't want to give up, neither you want to give up nor you wanted to compromise. So hence those are the stages where you feel like, so beforehand if you have clarity on these aspects, it will enable you to move smoothly. Smooth research proposal can be made and smoothly you can sail out throughout your journey. Next question, is it feasible for you to finish the application prior to the deadline? Sometimes it happens actually. Many a times I must say that you just know before the deadlines, very short period you have in your hand to make a proposal. Though you know how to write a proposal, but the pattern and the layout of proposal and the areas, significant areas, would be differing from institute to institute. So basically, a researcher must be already knowing about how to write a research design, etc. On those lines only, fundamentally, but yet every institute has their own style of asking proposals. And significant areas with the right, more or less all would be on same line fundamentally, but there would be slight variations. So when you got to know about a certain institute that is calling for applications to receive grants, then in that case, if the duration is short, would you be able to justify, will you be able to give your full complete dedication towards making proposal, because it is something which you are submitting. Upon acceptance, you may not be allowed to do any significant changes. So hence you need to be quite careful, quite attentive, and ensure that you do not give false false objectives, false goals, etc. So you have to ensure that ask yourself a question, that is it feasible for yourself to meet up the deadline? Good enough if you got to know about that proposal in time, but what if you come to know only in short time? Then you have to give enough time so that you make it makes no problems in the later stages. So this is the question which you also have to ask. Then again, one last question, is there a necessary output? Is that achievable? Yes. One thing let me throw light on is, see, any grant when it is given by institute like ICSSR, ICMR and many other DST, etc., they seek or they aim at getting certain outputs. Okay, so probably as a researcher, when a researcher is planning to publish a proposal, publishes research article in an UGC Scopus or non-UGC ISBN with any number, we try to focus on the lines of making some difference. That is, aiming to attain certain reach certain goals, attain certain outputs. But it's okay with the papers. But when it comes to grants and institutes which are releasing grants and giving you permissions to conduct the research, without output they may not accept your proposal. So focusing on these lines, that whether you are so dynamic, whether you are so challenging to take up the task, and ensure a smooth flow. At the same time, attain certain output goal which has impact on the society. So these are the areas which they probably are very keen in knowing. So those are the places where you have to focus and ensure that would you be able to do? Are you so challenging? Are you so dynamic? Do you have time? Do you meet up to the criteria? Whether you will be justifying the work or not. So if you have all these qualities without any delay, without any alternative thoughts, you can simply go ahead as a researcher to start writing your proposal. I hope I am making it clear. If any queries, you may please come up this. Sorry, come up. Sorry, I happen to teach with UG and PG students, women's college. So very often I keep calling them girls in the classroom, and so it happened. Excuse me. Yes, if you have any queries, you can ask. You can even use your chat box. I may try to look at those and answer accordingly. Moving ahead, when you are clear with on these lines, you can go on upon the next level of inquiry that you can do. That is, know the culture of the funder. Funder is the institute or an agency. Sometimes it is, yes, government, non-government agencies also, private funding bodies also are existing. So you have to first know the culture. Culture represents here or denotes here the amount of expectations from the researcher, outcomes from the researcher that they are looking for. If you're clear on these lines, you will better understand what their expectations are, how the work they intend to, etc., which will enable your work to smoothly conduct. Okay, then we move on to look at the instructions manual, which is linked with the invitation for from the agencies, institutes who call on application for receiving the grant. So in detail, yes, you are a regular one, definitely you will have an idea as to what they may seek, but do not give a miss just assuming that you may be knowing. As in PhD scholar, you know certain instructions. As in researcher, very very experienced research article writer, you may be knowing certain instructions, but those instructions are not the same as in case of these agencies. So ensure that you go line by line reading exclusively some specific lines about do's and don'ts, timing, outcome based. Okay, and if not, then what are the alternatives? So such kind of instructions I would suggest you all to focus on while you are reading or going through the instructions manual. Exclusively you have to note down these points and understand it before you give a start. Excuse me. Know the assessment criteria. Yes, assessment criteria differs from one agency to another agency, and like so on and so forth with institutes. So assessment criteria, fundamentally it is common, but there are certain slight changes adopted by the institutes based upon the subjects, based upon their own reputations, etc. So you have to ensure or have a clarity on how the assessment would be, and would you be able to contribute in those lines or not. Is it convenient for you to go with such kind of assessment, is what you have to first make a clarity on. Moving on, treat the application like an argument and present it with confidence. Yes. See, when you're writing your proposal in the very beginning, when you're filling up that application form, sometimes it is online, sometimes it is offline, whatever the case could be, consider it to be like you are a researcher who is arguing for the proposal, towards a proposal, and ensuring a flow towards attaining a goal or a target which probably enhances the content at the same time comes up with outcome. So that way, if you try to focus, definitely you will come up with an excellent proposal work. Use the appropriate disciplinary concepts and methods. Yes, this is very important. Commerce management, sciences, life sciences, etc., have their own style of adopting certain techniques. So you have to abide by those. Understand first beforehand what are the do's and don'ts, how do you write, format, etc. What are the significant focusing areas. If you know all these lines, disciplinary, it depends upon the discipline that you are targeting. Okay, it happens to change from one discipline to another discipline. I'll give you one small example. Being a commerce and management faculty, I may have a research proposal. I may plan a research proposal with multidisciplinary, so life sciences. I may connect, and I may bring in, and I'm planning to bring in an outcome-based study. So since that is a new subject for me, the first and foremost advice for myself would be understand the disciplinary concepts of those subjects. Since I belong to commerce and management, I know very well, I am very well equipped with the do's and don'ts of my subject, but I do not know about other subject. So nowadays it is becoming more popular to do a multidisciplinary research, and which is really making any sense in the society, making any differences in the society. So such invitations and more proposals are more accepted. So hence, on those lines, when you are trying to make an attempt to go for multidisciplinary, then you may be equipped with your own subject, but since that subject is new, though a faculty assistant is coming from that subject to you, but yet again it is your prime duty to understand the concepts, the fundamental requirements of that discipline. Only then you will be able to smoothly justify and smoothly finish your work. Okay. Yes. So these are the few questions that one has to answer. Few focusing areas which a researcher has to equip with. Once they feel that all those lines which are discussed in the previous slides, they are all comfortable, these questions and these points, then you are self-assessing. So hence your self-assessment, you are passed and you can move on. And when you finish your self-assessment, now it is your actual job begins to write on paper your proposal. Sometimes it is online, sometimes it is offline. So however it is, you have to start beforehand on pen and paper first, and then you can go to, even if it is online. Now, how do you start? Start with a lot of brainstorming session, whether it is in your own discipline or multidisciplinary research. Whatever could be the case, you have to ensure that there is a lot of brainstorming done by yourself and your assistant and your co-investigator, the one who is doing. Both of you should have a brainstorming session where you have to focus on the pros and cons of the existing challenges, existing problems in the society. How are you going to focus on those lines? How a research can be done and how an outcome-based research can be planned. On those lines, you can start. Yes, towards these kind of proposal, you can seek help from your faculty members. As much you discuss, you will be able to, the more you discuss, the more you will be refined about your thought processing. So hence, brainstorming session is of vital importance at this level. So you get here a general idea selection. Once you finalize this, now you can switch off, move on to your next stage. That is where you happen to write about your topic. Topic is a and specific area. where you wanted to conduct a research. Okay, and this research should again focus on three things once you are finalized with your topic. That is background content. As you I am not sure about your status, but if you are already a researcher, you know how to write your background content, connecting to the general, from the general to the specific. And then rational is all about the importance or significance of the topic. Why did you select? What is the need to do a research on those areas? Is it so relevant? On those lines, you have to develop content. And then research questions. Research questions are the ones which are an probing of, it's like an investigation in the subject. So before we start, as a researcher, we happen to start, give a kickstart with research questions itself. So research questions are, maybe you have 1, 2, 3 as, valid questions you can obtain, provided when you frame research questions, focus on the lines of their validity. And in this process of checking the validity, there could be several questions. See, when you start probing into the area of your interest, you happen to get a number of questions. Write down all the questions on a paper. Then finally, when you come to a specific topic, after that, start assessing back your researchable questions that you traced out. Read, reread again, analyze what are the valid questions, try to classify them in valid and invalid questions. This practice will enable you to filter it out the invalid questions, and you will be remained with only the valid set of questions. The next stage, with the help of these questions, that those are emerged out of your brainstorming sessions and several discussions with your co-investigators and faculty members, friends, etc., you will have to now draft or frame a research problem, which is of the most important. So any researcher without a problem cannot give a kickstart to the investigation. So you should have a proper framing of research problem, which consists of, background content, significance, and then finally justifying as to why are you focusing on these areas. Then what is the exact problem? You have to show, throw the light on those problems, on those lines. Then develop your hypothesis. This is a place or a section which will focus on drafting hypothesis, which is again a tentative statement, which may be later put on test to check whether it is significant or not significant. Then followed by start writing introduction. Introduction includes, study title, the exact title that you want to be. Don't give vague titles. You can have a crystal clear title mentioning about the sample also. Sometimes you're focusing only in, say, Delhi. So mention the state name, it's in the title itself, which will give a clear idea as to its impact and the survey conducted in the impact area. So hence, the assessing later stages, when it comes to assessing body, you may not have any discussions or problems or setbacks on these lines. Next, you have to concentrate on giving an extensive literature review, scientific as well as conventional. Your literature review again depends upon whether you are applying for a minor research or a major research. See, it all depends upon the recent reviews that you happen to do and how does it making sense to concentrate on these lines. You have to identify gaps. That's research gap, we call it as. When you identify research gap, you will be easily, this research gap will enable you to justify your researchable questions, followed by you can simply go ahead with your research work. So literature review extensively. You have to include in your introduction itself, wherever required, quoting them in brackets, etc. or you can do paragraph wise. Again, there may be certain do's and don'ts in literature review with respect to the institutions or agencies. The timeline can be given. So in those lines, you all have to ensure that you fulfill those requirements. For this, you need to check on to your institutes or agencies where you are applying for the grants. Moving ahead, a goal, an aim, which is to be set up by the researcher, what you wanted to do. So it can start with the to attain, to analyze, to determine, etc. So using these words, you can have a clear, crystal clear aims set for your own project proposal, which you are proposing. So you can have as long as 2, 3, 4, but ensure that all these are attained at the end. So it is not like a research article where you have 1, 2, 3. Sometimes those are not attainable. We write it as a limitation and end up our study. But here, when it comes to proposal, whatever you are mentioning, whatever you are setting as a goal, had to be attained. If it is not feasible, then you will be straight away. You need to identify those loopholes, gaps, and you have to stop over there only and try to set some other goals which are attainable, or do a lot of homework back again before you proceed on for the proposals. So this could be setbacks. So based on the objectives that you submit, only the questions will be finally outcomes will be focused on. So you need to be very carefully drafting your objectives. Methodology. Now you must be, I do not know how many of you are clear with the research methodology, what we include in this research work. It includes all the, it's a preliminary work done by the researcher. It's like a blueprint, a roadmap as to what are we going to do, how are we going to collect the same samples, how are we going to process them, present them, and analyze, followed by right interpretations, which might lead, which will lead to conclusions and suggestions. So likewise, we make a plan of action. And that is where, again, you have to sit. Once you are done up to objectives, that means you are quite clear with what you wanted to do. So moving on and writing a methodology will not be a challenging job at all. Now, what are the focusing areas under methodology? How will you answer your research question? You can stick to these questions like who, what, when, where, why, and how. 5 W's and H. Otherwise, you can skip any which you want to. But yes, research methodology, more or less, comprises of these questions as to who is your sample, what is your sample, when are you going to collect, how are you going to reach them, okay, why are you selecting that sample, how are you going to collect the data from them, what are you going to do with the data, etc. So methods must be well thought out and comprehensive. You need to give a clarity on the aspects of all these methodologies, very clearly stating how are you going to do, what are you going to do, etc. Yes, your research design, as I said, is a blueprint, plan of action. Yes, it can be also called as a roadmap, etc. Can be qualitative and quantitative, or sometimes it can be mixed method. You as a researcher, one has to be clear as to what type of method it is, what type of research you're carrying out. Is it a qualitative, quantitative, or a mixed one? If you are not clear with this, then a researcher would find difficulty in framing the questionnaires. And wrongly set questionnaires, collection of data will lead to wrong interpretation. All these will lead to statistical fallacies. So hence, to avoid all this, one has to be very clear on the lines of whether you are doing a qualitative research, quantitative, or a mixed method. Then cross-sectional, longitudinal surveys, how are you going to do it, whether it's a primary data, secondary data. Again, this is the place where you can focus on when you are submitting proposal, primary or secondary data. Agencies would, yeah, welcome. There are certain specific agencies. I'll show you the list of agencies at the end. Agencies which may even welcome secondary data. Okay, there are subjects where secondary data is the base for research. There are subjects where secondary data has a very minimum role to play on in the fields of research. So hence, depending upon your subjects, you have to finalize this and also have a check before you move on with your own institutes and agencies, whether they are able to welcome such attempts like primary data, secondary data exclusively. Are they okay with it? Then you can go ahead. If primary data, what are the various tools, pilot studies, validity checks you have to do on statistics? What are the various things? You just have to give a plan of action. It is not implementation. You just are writing about what are your plans about, all these questions. So how are you going to include, exclude assumptions? Missing data would be there. What are your assumptions? All this you need to lay down. Materials used like tools, instruments, equipments, what type of techniques that you are adopting, uh, statistical tools, basic tools, fundamental tools, or advanced tools that you're adopting, instruments to collect the data. How are you collecting various equipments? Suppose it is in chemistry, botany, and zoology, or other equipments. What all you require? You need to have a list of all these equipments, instruments, tools, and also make a note. You also have to have a detailed expenses which are going to incur in order to use all this. Again, that is coming in the next slides. Okay, so key question is here, could someone else carry out this entire project? Yes. If not you, can you hire anyone? Yes, there is a facility to get a co-investigator, assistant field work. There are several designations. Again, these designations and the people who can associate you, help you, assisting you in the research work differs from one agency to another agency. So you give a check before going for it. In the instruction manuals, it will be clearly mentioned as to how many people you can recruit in the full-time, part-time, only for 1 month or 2 months. Likewise, you may have a list of people whom you can put on, associate with in the process of this research work. Okay, so once you know that, you will get an idea as to the tools, techniques, equipments, places to visit, all that you can easily find out. So methodology writing will be easy for you when you know how many people you are hiring. Is it you alone or you're having a co-investigator? If you're having a co-investigator, both of you will share your work. Besides, you may not be able to move around. You may take a field assistance help. Is that eligible for your project or not? That check you have to do. And there are other several designations which you can have in your research. So are they eligible or not? That check you all have to do it before you give a start. Then what are the anticipated findings and their significance? This all goes along with the proposal. It is not the final findings that you happen to identify. These are all anticipated. That means assumptions, what you assume it to be. So a key factor in any research is its endeavor. What is that you are expecting? Okay, what kind of results that you are expecting? Next is, how will this project contribute to science? Yeah, this is the focusing area. I think almost every institute, agency, private, non-government, whatever they could be, when they are giving you grants to conduct research, then definitely they would know how is it going to contribute, especially when it comes to government. How is it contributing to the knowledge, to the innovation? Nowadays, there's IIC innovations from MHRD initiatives. All these are focusing on the lines of innovation. So hence, you have to ensure a connectivity, create a connectivity towards the innovations, towards the knowledge, towards an outcome-based research. If you have a miss, or if you are not able to justify those, then I think you need to stop for a while, understand, polish yourself, and get back to the proposal later, because you're not ready. if you are able to do, or you can hire somebody who's expert in this. They may guide you. So that way you can continue your research work. But otherwise, without a clarity on what it is giving the society back, I think your proposal will not be accepted. Okay, at the stage of assessment and yes, filtering out, your proposals high chances to get rejected if you don't focus on the contribution to the society. Okay, in general and in specific, in various government projects, we happen to see that they are very keen in knowing how is it contributing to the society, to the subject, to the society, to the people, etc. So yes, this is very significant question. You all can note. And why will your proposal be chosen over others for funding? Yes, like you, there may be n number of people with the same mindset, same questions, researchable questions, same kind of innovative thoughts. How is it making a difference? What are the key elements in your project which stands unique, that you have to focus on and work on, which is going to have an impact making, okay, outcome based. So on those lines, if you focus. Now if you ask me a question as to how can we do this, then I would suggest you to concentrate on your extensive literature work. Okay, when you do literature work, and when you do literature work exclusively of those agencies where you are trying to apply, where you're planning to apply, you will understand the essential parts in the proposal and the focusing areas where they're very keen in knowing those aspects, outcome based or knowledge based or innovation based. When you are clear, then you will be able to contribute key elements to your own proposal. If without any knowledge, if you're going ahead, then you may face a setback on these lines as to, yes, definitely there will be a question when you go for proposal presentation. People may ask you, panel assessment examiners may ask you a question as to, out of so many, piles of proposals that we received, there are several people who are talking on these aspects. How is it, how is your proposal different? How is it making any difference as compared to others? What is the key element that you're focusing? These can be the questions which may be asked to you. So you need to be prepared on these lines, which is making any impact. If you're ready, then I must say that you don't have to bother, your proposal will get easily accepted. Okay, so if not, please do polish. There's nothing wrong. It's a learning experience, and we are being, a human being always has to welcome learning, and learning is the core element, for us as in faculty members across. We have to keep learning, progressing, and polishing ourselves. So please do work on these lines and again make a proposal. Okay, so let's move on to the purpose of a proposal. To show you have a worthwhile research project to undertake, you have to demonstrate the competency. You have to ensure that the subjects aspects that you have picked up are all relevant. Ensure that evaluation is information, in order to evaluate the kind of information that you happen to submit is sufficient. What support, okay, if you seek support from externals, as I said, your own fellow faculty members, your own supervisors, in different forms, people around you can help you out in doing this. And then if you are found dynamic, etc., they will immediately observe you. So you don't have to worry about it. You just have to connect to the right people and right institutes. It can provide a stepping stone to a new opportunities. Yes. And then proposed budget and timeline. This is very important. Major research project, minor research project. These are the two project types which we usually hear about. Major is more than, it's a long process up to 5 years. And minor is about a 1 year project. So this is the timeline. Yes, you need to give a check whether you will be able to fulfill out of, see, in the very first initial stage, you happen to give a clarity on whether you can, do you have a time? Okay, so your own commitments, professional, personal, whether you will be able to do this or not in this particular year, you have to ensure that you are free, that it is okay for you to go ahead. Budget, again, all those lines which we have been discussing under methodology. To do so, what are all the estimated, budget, estimated prices you need to quote, whether it is a field investigator, how much salary you can pay for them. Firstly, the estimated salary has been assigned by the agencies itself. They are, have, in fact, they even recommend people at some places as a field investigator to collect the data, process the data, etc. So on those lines, how much expenditure you incur, you should have an estimation. So including all, yes, research, supplies, materials, everything, research assistance cost, etc. Besides all these physical, tangible things, certain other things which you also have to focus is your own personal timing. See, besides your own professional work, personal obligations you happen to involve in this, you may forego certain times, your weekends, vacations, etc. So those benefits also can be considered while you're proposing a budget. Yes, don't do over pricing or overshowing, because the one who's sitting there as an evaluator knows, because you submit to your own departments, whether you're from computer science, management, commerce, life sciences, etc. You submit to your own departments. So kind of expenditure estimations, they're all well known about all those. So don't do padding, avoid doing that. Can include student charges, hires, supplies, traveling cost, everything. So all these are going to be estimations which are to be included in your proposal. Timeline, as already mentioned, how much time you can do it batch wise to complete this, and then break them down further in several intervals. It's better you follow. Gantt chart was a very good tool which can be used to fix the timeline. Then once you are done with all this, you will be submitting your proposal. Before submitting, you yourself can review along with your co-partners. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for the proposal to get acceptance. Upon that, not the status of acceptance. Before that also, you may be called for reviewing, to suggest you certain additions and carvings and carve-outs. So let's see about reviewing a proposal. On what lines? Yes. Yes, you yourself can do self-reviewing. You can ask someone else to do, or you can wait that institute or agency to review your work. On the lines where you can focus on in the reviews are like meets criteria, the main aim or objective that you happen to start with, the result oriented, the outcome oriented. Okay, is it meeting or not? Because you are estimating all findings also, anticipated findings also you're quoting. So hence you can have an estimate. This is a proposal. It's a plan of action where you are estimating certain things to, if you go on these lines, you'll be able to attain certain objectives. So on those lines, are you all set well? Did you cover all those aspects or not? Especially focusing areas or not, you can give a check. Within scope, yes. The researchers' main challenge is to ensure that we are within our scopes. Because the moment we start doing literature review, we go beyond our scope. Diversified learnings, several things we find innovative, attractive, and we are, we have been taken through all those reading. We keep on reading, reading from one journal to another journal. It will take to another. So hence we keep on entering into several other things without, sometimes even the researcher forgets as to what is that we started with. So on those lines, you need to be very strictly adhering to your scope. You need to define your scope and adhere to it. A rigor of endeavor, yes, how rigorously you're working on those challenges, those objectives to attain. that you need to give a check on. Importance to career path and relevance. Yes, how it is going to develop, progress, rational, all those lines. Give a check. Research background of a researcher. Okay, here it is a researcher. What is your background? How many awards? How many scholarships, fellowships? Your experiences counts, publications, conferences, your own PhD. Okay, all these counts when you happen to give. You have to submit even this information. Earlier, how many projects you happen to do, government, private. Your profile is again to be submitted. So tools can be helpful. You can take the help of tools which will enable you to easily uh, go through all this. Okay, so these are certain reviewing aspects, and let me show you the list of funding agencies which I have taken from Google. I hope my screen is on and the list is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So these are the list of funding agencies for research proposals. You can see you have to select out of this. Again, they have their own, dates to call for application. You have to continuously look at their websites as to the dates for inviting the proposals, etc. So this is DST, Social Science and Technology. Okay, DBT, this is biotechnology. Likewise, you have, if you are from education background, you can go for Department of Education, that's DOED, and the food processing industries of government, they all call for invitations on the proposals, which has an impact, which is making a difference in the society, etc. National Institute of System for Science and Technology is another, leading institute. Department of Space, yes, if you belongs to those disciplines. Science and Engineering Research Council, AICTE, NE, NCRT, all these are the institutes, government, non-government. Besides, there are private agencies also. I'm just scrolling, a glimpse of all this. You can find this online with respect to your own disciplines. Excuse me. Yes, we have science and technology communication, natural resources data management system, NIRD, instrument development program. NIRD is there across every state. You can for just connect with them. Science and technology, ICSSR. I have a project with ICSSR. It's going on. Consumer protection through science and technology. Okay, so again, AICTE also. Here you can see Research and Development, All India Council for Technical Education, which supports and grants funds on various aspects, conducting programs, seminars, national, even funds are released if you have a proper goal to attend any seminar or conferences at international levels also. Suppose you have your PhD work or you have a book to be published, you can even see grants. There are institutes exclusively who happen to support researchers to bring in qualitative work. They support by giving them grants. So you can, if you have any plans, books, attending conferences, seminars, research publications, if you have any publication, just because you don't have funds, you're not able to do, but it is making a good impact in the society, then you can make a proposal, submit it to these agencies. They will help you in whatever best way to publish your work in leading journals, etc. Then we have ICAR, which is again the most popular ones. ICMR, we've been watching about news across ICMR during COVID period. And then we have research promotion scheme. All India Council for Technical Education, AICT, is promoting a lot of research. You can apply if you are from management and MCA engineering colleges. You can apply through this on research promotion scheme. Exclusively research is promoted. And then we have CSIR, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. DRDO is there. If you belong to those disciplines, you can. Then we have statistics and program implementation, and likewise INSA, NAS, and yes, CSIR, NCERT. Again, this is the one which is promoting the research, publication of books, etc. You can again connect to these institutes if you have any ideas, innovations connecting to those lines. ICSSR, yes, this is every year they keep calling. Besides MGNR, also Mahatma Gandhi Institute. All these are NABARD. And NABARD, every state you have an office where you can go and find out. On their websites also you will find information. So these are the various bodies. Besides, you also have some international bodies which even comes forward to fund the outcome-based research and initiatives. So these are the international: Foundation for Science, World Academy. Okay. Yes. So these were the few lists of all the places where you can get the fundings from. So this was my presentation on research funding and proposal. If you have any queries, you can ask if you have any queries on.
The session is open for discussion now. You can unmute and interact with the resource person, or you can post the questions in chat box also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Yes, any questions do we have in chat box?
No, ma'am. Till now, we don't have any questions in chat box.
Okay. Thank you so much, Samyukta, Ravi Kumar sir, Divya Priya madam. Yes, sir, Amol sir. List of agencies. I will forward to Jayalakshmi ma'am, and I can request Jayalakshmi ma'am to forward the same to others as well. All the participants you can share.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, Ramesh sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Kalimani Ramesh.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, actually, if they are funding for the research, they will be giving the topic, or we need to analyze the topic and we have to submit that, ma'am.
Actually, you should be having your own innovative topic.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have. But again, if any conferences, any seminars, nowadays, if you ask me, multidisciplinary is much popular. Okay,
Okay, I belongs to Commerce Department, ma'am. But
commerce.
I
Okay.
need to, I need to do that cryptocurrency with some CS related field, ma'am. So shall I proceed in that, or do any sort of
Definitely,
yeah.
madam, you can proceed, provided
Yeah.
you connect to the proper institute, which will
Okay.
recognize your work. Selection of
Okay.
institute is also one of the, criteria. You need to select a
Okay.
proper institute where they will recognize your work.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much,
So
ma'am.
and the
But
idea of cryptocurrency is also good. I have also published a few of my papers on cryptocurrencies and got
yeah,
them published in accounting, All India Accounting International seminar recently happened in
okay, ma'am.
Gujarat. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, good, good. You can go ahead. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Shobana, madam.
Shobana ma'am, do you have any query, ma'am?
Ma'am, your voice is not audible clearly.
Shobana ma'am, do you have any query, ma'am?
You can type your message in the chat box. You can leave your message. If any issues with your audio.
Any other queries? Dear participants, any other queries? Ma'am, think there are no more queries, ma'am. Shall we wind up, ma'am?
Yes, yes, Jayalakshmi.
On behalf of IoT Academy, we thank Dr. Vasudha Thakur for the informative, interactive, enlightening and enriching session. Thank you once again for the amazing and excellent presentation, ma'am. We thank you for enhancing our knowledge with a commendable presentation. We thank you very much for your efforts, ma'am. It was an amazing session. We thank you very much for your efforts, ma'am.
Thank you, Jayalakshmi ma'am. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and bearing me for yesterday's inconvenience. Thank you so much, and thank you mostly to all the participants, active participants. I'm happy to see a great number, and I hope you have you have takeaways from this session. I think they are also providing the video recorded lessons online. You can even look on those lines. Thank you each and everyone for your active participations. And thank you once again to the IoT Academy for giving me this opportunity. Have a good day. Signing off. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you. I thank all the participants for joining the session today. Kindly submit the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you all. Please submit the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you all. Dear participants, your certificates will be delivered by evening. Please check in spam also. Dear participants, your certificates will be delivered by evening. Please check in spam also.